Les Carpenter is kind enough to join us right now. He covers the team known as the Redskins for the Washington Post. You can follow Les on Twitter at Les Carpenter. Les, top of the morning to you. How are you and your family holding up during all this?
Oh, we're doing well. How are you?
Well, we're doing well also. We'd like to ask all our guests, obviously there's something a whole heck of a lot bigger going on right now than sports. So we just want to make sure that everyone's, healthy, doing okay. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, no, everyone's pretty good. I mean, I think once we get through the shock of realizing we're going to have to help our kids do school every day, I think that we settled in. But no, everything's been pretty good.
All right. Well, the biggest story that everyone's talking about, that no one knows anything about, is out of Washington. And the Twitter rumor mill is fast and furious, but not anybody seems to know anything. I know you probably can't say a lot about this story or may not even know about what is in it, but is all of the frenzy going to be met with the same kind of vigor when the story is released, whenever that is?
Well, I'm only very, very, peripherally involved in this story. I have to say that I kind of think there's a lot of people out there throwing a lot of stuff out that don't really have any idea, what the story is about, or just kind of build a frenzy about it. I, quite frankly, have never seen anything, like this. I'm a little, I'm a little perplexed, especially since a lot of this is coming from media people. But I just think it kind of speaks right now as sort of, there's just a lot of turmoil spinning around this franchise, probably has been for a couple of years, well, for many years, but it really kind of heated up in recent seasons. I thought some of that was going to die down this year with the Rivera hire, and yet there's probably some gaps in the franchise that's kind of allowed all this to sort of heat up again. And, the name thing is just one of many fronts that's kind of going on right now.
Les, you touched on something, and as somebody who's, we're in the media, but you work for the Washington Post. You are in the media. And it is fascinating in a day and age in which everybody, if they hear something, they immediately take to Twitter, whether it's right or not. And now we've got this thing that's been out there for over 36 hours in which they're saying it's kind of like the weather people talking about the Category 4 hurricane's coming, but it's coming on Saturday. It's fascinating. We can't recall in this internet era, social media era, the national media talking about a story. Hey, it's coming, just wait for it. Because usually, they report on it.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm stunned about this. I really don't know what to say more than that. I'm seeing journalists here saying that something, momentous is coming, and I'm kind of at a loss of words, really. Because it sort of startled me the first couple tweets that I saw. There's something big. We don't know what it is. We don't know what to say about it. I can't tell you because I don't know, but it's going to be big. Well, how do you know it's going to be big? I don't mean to go on a diatribe again. This is a hard business, and we all take criticism in it, and so I certainly don't want to be levying any others out. But I've just never seen this kind of behavior from other media members. It's a little startling.
It seems as if there's an excitement. We kind of alluded to some of the rumors that are out there. It's like they're already making Snyder out to be the next Donald Sterling, and it seems this is where it is a fine line for the media, because Dan Snyder doesn't seem to be a very likable guy, but you have to put that aside when you're reporting on something, don't you?
Yes. Again, I don't know what's going on here. If there's just void of other league news, I don't know. There's a lot of people who aren't really talking about it. This thing has taken such a weird frenzy of its own. I'm speechless about it. But it's something I can't talk about. I feel like I'm adding to the hype with that. I just am kind of in the dark. I only know a little bit. I don't know. I kind of just don't know what to say. I don't
fine.
know if at this point nothing's going to match a hype. So
He's Les Carpenter. He covers the Redskins for the Washington Post.
You
can follow
there's
Les
so many
on Twitter.
other things going on.
You can follow Les on Twitter at Les Carpenter. All right. Moving forward with the name, is this something that you expect the change will happen and it will happen before the season is scheduled to kick off? Or do you think that they will play the 2020 season for the final time as the Redskins, and the name change and everything that goes with it will then take place after this season?
It's a good question, and that's, what I was alluding to before. There's just so many kind of, things going on at this point. I think there's so much uncertainty you don't know. It seems that they made the announcement just kind of to take the heat off, saying, well, look, guys, we're going to change the name. Now we're doing our review, just move on. When we're done with the review, there will be a different name here. I think that was just kind of to stop a bit of the frenzy about, the use of the name. But I don't know how far along they are on the process. It's unclear. I'll get things that say they picked a name. I'll get things that say they haven't. This is probably going to, I don't know. It's such a tough process. I can't see it being done unless the camp's going to start in 2 weeks. I think it's hard if a team takes some sort of field, whether it's practice or whether it's games or whatever, under a name that everyone says we're not, you can't be, and they don't want to be anymore. I could see a possibility where they play a month as the Washington football team. I do think they're going to try to rush the name and get it up there. But whether they can pull all that off in a couple of weeks, whatever it is, I just don't know. I feel like there's probably going to have to be some kind of interim thing, and I don't believe they want to use the name Redskins.
So Washington football team for part of the year. That will be interesting because that's I've been with you.
I think by kickoff they'll have something of the season, but that's what I mean. There's a lot of different kind of there's just a lot of chaos swirling right now because these are things that you usually take months to do, and they're really rushing to process because of everything that's going on.
And not to mention, I've been through a name change of a building that I worked at. It's not a snap of a fingers and you change the name. It sounds silly, but logistically, signage and paperwork and all of the different things, letterhead and all of these things that have to be created don't just happen instantly. By the way, there is a pandemic going on, so nothing seems to be getting done in a hurry. That's why I don't see how they start the season as anything but the Washington football team or the Redskins. I just think logistically, this is a nightmare to try to do a name change, and everybody thinks they can do it in 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. It's I was talking to a couple people from a company that's kind of what they do, and they're saying, look, this is at minimum for corporations, 2-month process, and often it's a lot longer. It's just so many different people you want to talk to, so many things you got to line up, and not to mention all the signage and all the other things that you have to change. The team's practice facility is on a road named after, with the Redskins in it. Facility's got all the word, the signs that say Redskins. You go out on the fields, in the field, there's some turf fields that have the helmet logo, just this is a part of the turf, and then you go to the stadium and all the things that have to be done there. And there's a media guide that's just about printed, and it's got, 500 pages with the word Redskins in it. It's a massive, massive undertaking. And, remember, this is a team that still doesn't have a team president. So, yes, there's a lot that has to be done here. It's kind of being done by a small group of people. And, yeah, here's a season, by the way, and, and whatever else kind of is going on the side with this franchise. Yeah, there's a lot. When I say there's a lot, it's kind of strange. There really are about 2 or 3 things just really burning on the all at once with this franchise.
Is there a heavy favorite from the fan standpoint as to what they want the franchise called going forward? Or if this were an internet poll, it'd be 20% for this answer and 18% for this and 15% for this? Or is there a name that a majority of Redskins fans are like, hey, if you could rename the franchise this, we'd really like it?
There has been a very massive rush to the name Red Wolves, at least, on the internet. I don't know what that's like. I haven't paid personally attention so much to radio and everything right now, just because I've kind of had my head down on all the things going on with this team. But that is my sense, at least if you just kind of go on Twitter and, some of those things. Red Wolves is a huge favorite. I don't even know if it's a name that's really being considered. It's not the name that I was given. That was sort of the favorite in the in the front office and what they were sort of moving forward with. That doesn't mean that it hasn't come in, and maybe that's what slowed down the process too. I was told the real slowdown has been trademark things and probably just the massive number of things you have to do to change a name. But we'll see. It very well could be. It definitely is a fan favorite, though, if you look on Twitter, and and that came out of nowhere too. That was not what the fan favorite was, say, at the start of this process.
Les, thanks for your time and your insight. We appreciate it. We have a feeling it's going to be, a crazy time for you over the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we can chat again.
All right. Hey, it was fun, guys.
Les Carpenter covers the Redskins for the Washington Post, and follow Les on Twitter very simply at Les Carpenter. And we've had a lot of texts this morning and people reaching out to us in our twitch.tv chat room about, hey, what do you know about this Redskins story? Quite frankly, it was why we booked Les. I mean, based on what we had heard 12 hours ago, the story was going to be in the Thursday edition of the Washington Post. Well, clearly that's not the case, because otherwise the story would be out. And oftentimes what happens is, if it's in the paper, which is going to hit the newsstands at 5 a.m., it's then going to be put online. And it really just depends on the editors whether or not how much play they want it to get the night before. Do they want to try to build up sales for the paper the next day, et cetera. So usually you post it online just early enough so it can make the late evening news locally. So that this way people hear about it, they get up in the morning, people are talking about it, and they run out and they buy the paper. So once Mark and I woke up this morning and there was nothing online, we're like, well, then it ain't in the paper this morning. So now we're all going to wait to see if it's being released online today for Friday's paper.
And if you are someone on Twitter, just go to the Explore or the Trending and click on Dan Snyder and just start looking through, because I will tell you that the gifts that people are showing, the 30 for 30 folks waiting to see the story drop, and, my favorite one, David, I have to just pick on you a little bit, not you personally, but your team, is the one gift said something along the lines of, really? Knicks fans? Dan Snyder's going to have to sell his team before James Dolan?
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. You all make a dadgum good point.
Right?